In this episode of Stories from Real Life, we sit down with Kerry Damiano, Ms. World Traveler, to talk about what decades of travel have taught her about confidence, faith, storytelling, and the courage to begin again. She's traveled to more than 140 countries. She didn't start on social media, and she proves that reinvention doesn't have a deadline. This isn't a bucket list episode. It's a conversation about purpose, perspective, and why the world still has something to teach us, if we're willing to listen. This is Stories from Real Life with Melvin E. Edwards, and today's story is Kerry Damiano's, Around the World in One Lifetime.
You are listening to Stories from Real Life, a podcast by engaging storytellers for engaged story listeners. Here's your host, author and journalist, Melvin E. Edwards.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thank you for joining me for the podcast where our personal stories remind us how much we can learn from each other. Today on the show, I'm joined by Kerry Damiano, better known as Miss World Traveler. Kerry has been to more than 130 countries, all 50 states, and countless places most of us only dream about. But her story isn't just about stamps and a passport. It's about reinvention, curiosity, confidence, and finding purpose far beyond where you started. Kerry, welcome to Stories from Real Life.
Oh, thank you, Mel. It's good to be here.
Good to be here. Good to be here with you is what I meant to say. So
Thank
you're
you.
out there in Phoenix, and I'm here in Texas, and those aren't really exotic places. So I'm curious to hear about some of the exotic places you've been. All
Well,
right, so
it depends. If you've never been to Phoenix, it's an exotic place, right?
the one time I was in Phoenix, it was 120 degrees. So
Oh, no. Come back again. In February.
Okay, yes, that was not fun. All right, so what first sparked your passion for travel, and how did you evolve to be called Miss World Traveler?
Sure. Well, those are two very different questions. So I'm going to start with the first one, how I first got involved. And, my mother had quite a wanderlust. And even her mother before her, she was ahead of her time. She was quite independent. And my grandfather was often away. He fought in World War II. And also his job took him out. And so my grandma would just load her two kids up in the car and take off. They did road trips. So my mom came by her wanderlust, naturally. And so did I. She passed that on to me. And she took us, there were three of us kids. She took us to swim meets, track meets, volleyball meets, all over. And that kind of started it. But it wasn't until she took me on my first international trip as a college graduation present that I truly got addicted. And from there, sort of, it's history.
So how'd you become Miss World Traveler? That's quite a leap.
Well, it is, but it was 40 years later.
Okay.
So there was a lot happening in between when I first, 1984, when I had my first international trip, one of those, 17 days, 10 countries, bus tour kind of a thing, to now where I have traveled mostly by myself. Really, for the last 35 years, I've traveled by myself. I just got to that point where I wanted to do it my way. Does that make sense? That, when I was going with my mom, it was, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And you have this back and forth. I wanted to be able to do it on myself. And once I got a taste of that, I realized that it was something special. And now as Ms. World Traveler, I get a chance to help other women sort of come to that same realization that it's okay to go by yourself. It's great to go with someone or to go with a group. No worries about that. Just go. But it's okay if you don't have someone to go with you. It's okay to go by yourself.
All right. So what's the most unexpected lesson travel has taught you about the world and about yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily unexpected, but I talk about this a lot, is that, we as humans, and especially as women, we have a lot of fears. And our fears are like, what if I am lonely if I go by myself? What if I can't do it on my own? What if I can't figure it out? What if I can't afford it? What if I don't have enough time? All of these things, they come in and they weigh us down. And for me, travel is just kind of it's a vehicle to overcome your fears. And when you overcome your fears, when you do it by yourself and you say, I did it, I conquered it, I can do this, it gives you a confidence that permeates many other areas of your life. So I think people don't realize that by traveling, you get confidence. And that is something that you can use no matter what you are doing.
Wow, I didn't think about that. So you focus on shopping and style destinations rather than typical travel guides. So what inspired that type of a focus for you?
Well, Mel, take a look at me. I'm all about, style and fashion and beauty. But also, I've spent 40 years in the pageant industry. I coach, I judge. Back in the day, back in the dark ages, I competed. But so I've always had a love of that. And when I started looking into what I wanted to do as Ms. World Traveler, there's thousands of travel bloggers out there. And, you have to come up with your own thing, something that sets you apart, but not because you're trying to set yourself apart, but because every personality is different. And for me, I went to, what do I love? What am I passionate about? And I went out and looked, and nobody was doing that. I don't tell you what restaurants to go to or what hotels to go to. There's lots of people telling you about that. So I wanted to do something that was meaningful to me. And I figured if I like it, other people are going to like it too.
At the very least, if you're passionate about it, they'll get excited. They didn't even know they were excited.
Exactly. And it's just something different. And, I try and weave in tips and, advice and, some of my experience over 40 years. And actually, it's now 146 countries.
Wow.
So, I try and weave in some of the things that I have been through into every YouTube episode. And that way people are not only getting to see, something maybe a little different than they see on somebody else's show, but, something that they can take home, something that they can learn.
All right. So of all the places you've visited so far, which city's shopping the culture has surprised you the most?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I don't know that I would say surprise, but my favorite place is Paris just because of the depth of the shopping. There's a lot of places that maybe surprising is great prices. Now, I was just in Buenos Aires a couple of years ago. We covered it on the show, but I had been there early 2000s, and they had just been through the devaluation of the peso. The prices were unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. That was surprising. So it was kind of a fun surprise that your money goes so far. So that's one example of a surprise. Other times it's just the beauty of the artwork. There's just so much richness in how the people are creating and what inspires them. And that's something I get to show on the show.
Okay. So you just made me think of something. Going to all these places, whether it's for shopping or for what you might consider work, is this tax deductible?
Yes, I do, Mel. I consider it work.
Is this tax deductible?
That is a good question. It's not because the IRS doesn't consider me a business since I don't get paid for it. However, let me give you an example. I just finished this morning a 26-page script with 171 voiceovers. It took me a month to do it. I was on a supposed vacation to Africa, and it was 2 weeks, 8 countries, 12 segments. I mean, it was a lot of work to do that. So, yeah, I don't get paid for it, but I worked at it.
It's hard work, nevertheless. So
okay, go on. I interrupted you.
That's okay. So, from your experience running a blog, YouTube series, and social media presence, what's the biggest misconception that people might have about travel content creators?
Ooh, because I don't know what other people are doing, I don't know what those misconceptions are. I think maybe one thing I try and sort of have overcome is that travel is something you can do just as your regular self. You don't have to be somebody else. So, what you see right here, this is how I travel. My hair is done, my makeup's done, my earrings are on, I dress nice. So you don't have to look like you're a hippie boho, backpack, leave your whole self behind and become a different person. I wear my regular clothes and be my regular self. And maybe that's surprising to some people. I don't know.
Did you dress like that in the Serengeti?
Uh, I'm glad you brought that up. I went to Africa and did not do a safari. Isn't that, weird? Well, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. I'm very into history and culture. So I went to lots of cultural villages, museums. There's a lot to see without necessarily putting on your khakis and going out into on an open air Jeep and eating the dust and having the flies around. So it can still be done in a glamorous way.
Okay. That's good to know. In case I ever want to glam myself out and go on a trip. So how was your previous career as a president, COO and a pageant professional? How does that prepare you for launching a travel brand?
Well, again, two different questions there. I was, in small business, but maybe what they'd call corporate America. And I ran two different companies simultaneously and traveled between the two. I did that for a number of years. And for me, that was my learning time. I was still growing. I was younger in my career. And that, because I had a steady paycheck, that's what allowed me to be able to travel. I had, specific time off. We had 4-day work weeks. So I always had 3-day weekends. So for me, that was just sort of the foundation of being able to do some of these other things. When I went into my own business, things aren't as steady, but they're also much more flexible. So becoming Ms. World Traveler was not until 2022. Been doing it for 3.5 years now. And pageantry definitely prepared me for that. Because the whole Ms. World Traveler is an ode to my years in pageantry. It's not a pageant, but because I, have been in it and that's kind of my community, it was a marketing shtick. It was a place to start. And when we travel, people come up and sometimes they'll say, congratulations, as if I won something. But they'll want to take pictures and they want to ask about it. And so it's just a way to bring attention to what we're doing and get a chance to talk to people and have a little glamour at the same time.
So you're wearing your sash now, Miss World Traveler. And obviously you wear it when you travel because people see it.
Yes.
What do you do when you go to a cold place and you're wearing a coat?
Well, we haven't been to a lot of cold places, but I wear it underneath the coat. And then when we film, I throw off the coat, do our thing, and then put the coat back on.
Makes sense. It makes sense. You want to be fashionable, but you also want to be comfortable.
Well, that's true. But, there's a limit to where I draw that. Being fabulous is more important than being comfortable.
Obviously. Being fabulous has to be number one, or else you're just wasting your time. All right. So
I like how you think.
So what strategies do you use to craft a compelling story for a destination when you don't have a whole lot of time? Or do you plan these out months in advance?
Well, most, yes, I do. And you're right. I have very little time once I get there, but I do a lot of research before I go. So I try and have a real sense of the city where I'm going, and I target places that I want to go check, like little shops or areas, things like that, so that when I get there, I truly hit the ground running and I've got a sense of it. But once I get there, it's almost like the city tells me what the script is supposed to be. What is the story here? So, for example, Minneapolis, since I've been in the news so much lately, a good one to use as an example. That one, it was like they're different ethnic groups. That sort of came to light as the story. They have quite a Scandinavian population. So I covered a Scandinavian store. They have a Native American population. So I did a section on that. So I ended up doing sections on these different cultural groups. And I didn't necessarily know that before I went. it bubbled to the surface as I was there and I was seeing and experiencing the city.
Yeah, it's always been weird to me that Scandinavians would have settled in Minnesota. You'd think coming from a cold place, they'd want to go someplace warm. Why not Florida?
Why are they thinking about this? I don't know.
And you can't even wear your sash outside of your parka. So what's the
I
point? So what's one tech tool or platform that you just can't live without as being a content creator?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I had to hire somebody to come on alongside me to do that. The whole social media thing kind of passed me by. It wasn't important in my early career, and I kept saying, I got to do it. And I just, every time I would think that, this feeling of yuck would just wash over me. And so I never did it before Ms. World Traveler came along. And when it did, it was kind of like the scales were removed off my eyes and I could see the whole plan of what it was supposed to be. And it was all digital. Uh-oh. I didn't know anything about anything technical. So I hired my niece to come alongside me, and she does all of the social media, the video editing, the shooting, all of that sort of thing, so that I can concentrate on the things I'm good at and leave the things that I just don't feel I have an expertise in to someone who does. So that is how I got around it.
All right, so let's talk about your pageantry some more. So decades in the pageant world, how did it shape your outlook on confidence, poise, and personal branding?
To such an extent, it's hard to put into words. I started in pageantry in the 1980s. So been in a long time, meaning very young, in my 20s. And what you see before you is a product of just like an old, overgrown pageant girl. But the confidence that came with that, the speaking skills, the ability to walk into a room, not be afraid. Sometimes I do a lot of speaking, and sometimes they say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you 3 hours." Most people would be pretty daunted if they had to entertain a group of people for 3 hours. I can do it in my sleep. So it just gave me a kind of confidence that has truly carried over. And what people don't understand about pageantry sometimes, if you're not in it, you're on the outside, is that women are drawn to it for the personal development. It's just the avenue of improving yourself, to work on being your best physical self, to work on being your best emotional and spiritual self, to be more self-aware, to improve your skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills, confidence skills, all of those kinds of things. And so, yes, it has truly shaped who I am as a person, and now I utilize that as Ms. World Traveler.
Okay, so you're telling me that pageant contestants aren't there just to promote world peace. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, maybe, in the back of their minds, but it's so funny because we do joke about that, right? But most women are drawn to it because they have a cause. And maybe it's autism awareness or breast cancer awareness or organ donation or whatever it is. There's a million things that people are drawn to because they're passionate about. And pageantry gives them a voice. Once you have a crown and banner, a title, it's easier to get your foot into the door of things that you want, places that you want to talk and you want to promote your cause. So that's actually the number one reason of what draws people into pageantry.
Okay. And are you formally like a speech coach or a speaking coach for like contestants or just anybody in general to help them become better public speakers?
Well, with pageant coaching, that's a lot of what I do. A lot. We work on it on the phone. We work on it on Zoom. We work on it in person. Absolutely.
All right. So what kind of awards have you won? I understand you've won a number of awards. So what's your favorite one?
Ooh, that's like picking your favorite kid.
I can't pick my favorite kid. They're probably not listening, so I can say that.
I will not put you on the spot and make you tell which one, right? Well, in the last year, we have won probably, I haven't counted 8, 9, 10 awards. And I jokingly said in my Christmas letter this year that we're like the obscure, small, critically acclaimed movie that the critics love that nobody has seen. So we don't have a ton of followers. We're always looking for more, obviously, but we have been awarded quite a nice number of awards for things like script writing, uh, video content, on-camera talent, web personality, some of those kind of things. So they're quite meaningful to us because it says that we're working so hard and that people are appreciating our work, even if not a lot of people are seeing it.
So you said us, and I'm guessing you mean your producer or whatever title.
Yes, my niece, yes.
Okay, so does she always travel with you?
She did for the first 2 full years. She's trying to take a step back now. And so, like the Africa trip, I filmed myself. So don't ask me how that goes. I'm still working on it.
How long ago was that trip?
Just a few weeks ago. I was there end of November through about mid-December.
Nice. So is there one common myth about pageants that you want to debunk while you got the chance here?
That it's catty. There are bad apples in every barrel, just like there are in life, like Little League or like, the PTA or whatever.
Cheerleading.
Cheerleading, whatever it is. There's always, there can be a bad apple, but that's not the majority. The majority of girls are there for the sisterhood, and they support each other and encourage each other because we sort of all know how hard it is to put yourself out there in front of people, strangers, and try and present yourself in your best light. It's actually quite nerve-wracking. And so the support that they show each other is really something that draws everybody together. I guess it's a little bit like men who served in a foxhole together. There's a bond there that not everybody can understand, but if you've been there, you do understand it. And pageantry is the same way. There's a bond that is developed that if you haven't been in it, you don't understand it.
Okay, that all makes sense. So you have a ministry.
You don't understand it any better now, do you?
It makes sense. I don't understand it, but it makes sense. So you have a ministry called The Amazing Word, and you focus on scripture memorization. So how does your faith intersect with your travel and creative work?
The two are married. They cannot be separated. I try to, I'm not a preacher, and I'm not setting out to be a preacher, but it's just in everything. Faith comes out my pores. Whether I like it or not, it just does. But I try never to be insensitive to if people are not, if they don't want to hear it, that's just fine. Some people do want to hear about it, so I'm happy to talk anytime someone asks the question.
All right. So you often highlight women entrepreneurs when you travel. So how has that influenced your own mission?
Well, I'm all about small business. I've been a small business owner for 25 years, and my dad was a businessman, again, sort of small business. And so I feel like that's kind of the backbone. And it's especially important for women because we are multitaskers. Family, now I'm single, never married, no kids, but most women, have people they have to take care of. And so it's a great way for them to be able to do something that they're passionate about, but that they have full flexibility to also take care of their families and do whatever else they have in life that they need to take care of. So I'm a big proponent of small business, and that's partly why I want to highlight women who they're out there, they're living it, they're doing it, and it's inspiring.
So what's the most inspiring story you've heard recently?
Ooh. You know what? I have to think about that a little bit. It's probably going to come to me at 2 a.m. Okay. Then I'm going to call you.
I won't be here. But you can call and leave a message, and I'll edit it into this this episode.
But we meet inspiring people all the time. A woman that I met just on my Africa trip, it didn't have anything to do with being an entrepreneur, but she was in a very poor rural village, and no running water, no electricity, no plumbing, just cooking over an open fire, that kind of thing. It's a very, very poor village. And she just had this joy that just exuded. And she walked us around and, told me about her life and different things. And, and I'm not feeling sad, but I'm just like, wow, this is a hard life. This is a hard life. And at the end, we just hugged and, women bonding, enjoy. We sang Amazing Grace together and hugged and just made a new friend. She was inspiring to me, that she just found joy in her daily tasks and in taking care of her family and sharing responsibilities with the rest of the people in her community.
Wow. Was she as bubbly as you?
Is there anybody as bubbly as me?
Or fabulous? You're Miss World Traveler and Miss whatever other subcategories you may want to have under there.
Maybe. No, I'm inspired.
So, is there a personal habit or a mindset shift that has helped you in your reinvention over the years?
Well, I'm going to go back to being myself. The older I've gotten, Mel, the more I don't care about trying to fit in, trying to, again, be something that I'm not. I wear sequins to the grocery store. Don't care. People say, well, why are you all dressed up? I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm just going to the grocery store.
Do you wear the sash, the ribbon to the grocery store?
No, I don't. Okay. I typically only wear that for Ms. World Traveler related things.
Okay.
But really the point is, just be yourself. It just doesn't matter what other people think. And I think the older you get, the more freedom that you have to do that. You're not trying to fit in. I mean, if you remember back years ago, we were in high school, you wore this kind of the same clothes as everybody because you didn't want to stick out. It was all about belonging. And I think, you move on and you do your own thing and you just like, what do I need to fit in for? I just want to be me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was actually telling my wife a couple weeks ago, probably the only real benefit, well, other than gaining wisdom, the only other real benefit from getting older is you just don't care what people think about you.
That's right.
That's actually freeing.
There's a freedom in that, isn't there? You just be you. You know that saying, you do you, and yet I think a lot of younger people, it's harder for them to do them. But the older you get, you just go, yeah, I'm gonna do me, and I'm not gonna worry about it.
Cowboy hats. It's easy in Texas, but when I lived in Maryland, I used to get the weirdest looks.
Really,
my cowboy hat, and I just decided I don't care. I like cowboy hats. I like the way I look in cowboy hats. That's part of my family heritage. I'm wearing a cowboy hat. You can look at me funny. You can say whatever you want. I'm still going to wear my cowboy hat.
It's your style, and you do it. You carry it off. Wear it with confidence, and let everybody else wish they looked as good.
I need a sash now. Mr. Cowboy Hat. I'm getting. I'm inspired. You've inspired me. All right, so this is passing by really fast. I only have a couple of questions left for you.
Okay.
So, what's one piece of wisdom that you'd like to share with somebody who feels stuck, or maybe even longs for an adventure or a purpose? What would your advice be?
My advice is take a baby step. Just do something. Stick your toe in the water. In terms of travel, if you're worried about doing it alone, go spend the night in a hotel by yourself. See how it goes. And if you do well on that, take a little weekend trip by yourself. See how it goes. Just little baby steps. Just don't go to Russia for 2 weeks by yourself on your first time. Take baby steps and see and build your confidence, and see if it's for you. And you can apply that in just about everything. If you want to become a photographer, I'll take a few pictures, see how it goes.
And maybe you can get paid for it, and then it can be tax deductible.
Well, so true. It's always the goal, isn't it?
I think that's my motivation. How can I write this off?
I like the way that you think.
All right. So for a final question for you today, what's projects are you working on? What's the future for Miss World Traveler?
Okay, well, I have a trip to London in February where I'm speaking at an international pageant conference. But the big trip after that is for the whole month of March, I will be in Australia. And this will actually be the fifth month trip that I've taken. So the first one was Paris, Rome, Barcelona, and then I just did New York in October. And the reason why these are kind of set aside as something different is because it's really about the depth. Most places I go, I give myself 2 days. I get a lot done in 2 days. 2 days to totally, shop the city, write the story, research everything, and then we film on one day and then we leave. Well, when you're there for a month, you still have to move almost as fast, but you can go so much deeper. You can go places that maybe you wouldn't have had time, things that are not touristy, right? So for me, it's that luxury of time that allows me to really, really get to know a place that is too big to get to know in a matter of days. And so I find that quite exciting. So that's coming up in March.
Nice. That sounds like fun. So my guest today has been Miss World Traveler, Kerry Damiano. Kerry, thank you so much for being here today. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So do you want to tell us about your website, your blog, your YouTube channel?
Here's how you can find us. Follow us. We don't have a lot of followers, so please come join. We're on YouTube, and that's Ms. World Traveler. And then we're on Instagram, and that's Kerry, Ms. World Traveler, Kerry, Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. We're also on Facebook, Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. So we'd love to have people follow along the adventures.
That sounds like fun. And I'll put the links in the show notes so that people can just click on it and go right there and follow you. So again, thank you
Mel,
for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. We did have fun.
Absolutely. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might be standing on the edge of their own next chapter and next adventure. And if you haven't already, follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. This is Stories from Real Life. Until next time, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.
That was Stories from Real Life. Join us again next week for another great storytelling journey. See you next time.